Welcome to Outside the Box with Asendia USA, a podcast educating U.S.-based e-tailers on international shipping topics and how they can expand their global e-commerce footprint.
No, what a great intro.
Oh, it's fantastic. It's great. Right. It's awesome. Yeah. Hi, this is John. Welcome back to the Outside the Box podcast. We hope you were able to gain some insights from our last session. Our next topic that we're talking about is expanding business globally. And one of the things that Nick and I want to talk about today, Nick, how are you today, by the way?
Yeah, I'm doing great. I want to thank you for introducing me, by the way.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah,
I forgot you sitting there.
That's okay.
The cost of shipping internationally is something that Nick is very passionate about. We're going to touch on that today. Again, I'm John Walsh, along with our riders, my partner, Nick Agnetti. We'll work with Asendia US. For those who are back with us in the podcast last month, I'd like to thank you. And for those joining us for the first time, welcome. But let's just dive into it. Cost of international shipping. It's kind of a broad term. Some things I want to touch on, Nick, get your feelings on.
Yep.
Some of the things that come to mind with that would be price, right? Budget, fees, surcharges, total expense. They're all words we're familiar with and use in logistics daily. But from your perspective, what are you hearing from your customer?
Okay. I feel like we might want to take a seat when it could be winter. You know what I mean? So I'm going to,
well, that's not a doctor, but go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm going to let it ride here. But going back to what you said, price, cost, etc. There's a significant difference in my mind.
Yep.
Versus price versus cost, right? So it's like saying something, oh, that's cheap, right? But the reality is there's so much more that goes into it. Now, when we're talking international and the international shipping landscape in general, we are, and it's probably important to make the distinction of Asendia USA, we're an asset-based global postal consolidator.
Right.
You know, but we're in addition to that, you mentioned in the first episode, the overall umbrella of
GeoPost. Yep.
And so we offer just this large breadth of services. So when it comes to international shipping, everybody has to talk about price first. And I'll say price because it's not cost. There's a lot more involved in. You have to look at what is the customer, what is the experience that you actually want to offer to your customers.
Right.
And that's where it comes down to, okay, well then once you have that locked in, what's your actual strategy going to be? We can kind of figure things out from there. I mean, all the way down from, yes, there's a price point based on a specific service level. How detailed of tracking do you want? DDP, DDU, dimensional weight, the speed of delivery. What delivery features do you want? And we can even with that, we can dive into, for instance, what DPD offers,
right?
Which is different than even some of the more, what we call our e-packing or express service options, which our suite of global delivery options is called e-pack. So e-pack plus, e-pack select DDP. I bring that up because eventually this language is going to come out just in our conversation talking because we are with Asendia USA, and these things are going to come up in conversation. I want to make sure you, as the listener, know what we're talking about instead of us just saying, for instance, our ePack Select DDP product in Canada is A and C. You know what we're actually differentiating. So, so going back to, there's a significant difference between price and cost. And I'm sure even in your past life, too, you dealt with these exact same things. And so when you've got a client that comes to you, and we all know that we just went through the 2024 rate changes. This podcast, this is March now. And so we've all experienced there's some significant changes in the industry. We know that volume softened a little bit. And so there's, carriers are probably out there doing some pretty aggressive things. I'd say it's a little bit more of a shipper's market than it was previously.
Yep.
For sure. So there's a lot going on with that conversation, but it's very important that you're working with the right partners to understand what you want to offer and put in place for your ideal customer experience versus just a cheap solution or a less expensive solution.
Okay, everybody, that was not that windy, right?
I mean, I don't have a clock in front of me, but
okay,
it felt long.
Okay, that's fine. It was great. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
I want to pose you a question if you were a consumer that uses an e-tailer that I know you deal with a lot of them today.
I bought a lot of stuff this morning on my Marriott on the online interwebs. So go ahead.
A couple things that come to mind if I'm a consumer and looking for retail. I just want to get your opinion on what you think you're hearing of importance about. Easy returns, easy use in the shopping cart, localized website, total cost available. I think you mentioned that earlier. It's important to understand that the cost is not price, but you said earlier, it's everything, right?
Yes.
And then visibility. And you also mentioned the BDU and DDP options that are available through destinations. Are you hearing more of a concern to customers today that their customers are saying to them?
I don't want to say the coin term, but the theme that I've seen, let's say, the last 12, 14 months. And I've just these conversations I've been having surrounding customer experience.
Right.
And so I think the easiest way, and not I think I know, one of the easiest ways for a shipper to really improve, and I mean dramatically improve customer experience, they've been looking at transitioning from a DDU delivery model to a DDP delivery model. And again, just for the listeners out there that may not be informed, DDU and DDP are Incoterms each refer to a package being sent a method which is delivered duties unpaid, right, or delivered duty prepaid. Right. And so the importance of this is going to be what the recipient experiences on the other side, meaning across the border at the time of delivery. I'm going to speak to some of my clients and what some of them have done where they, let's say, have an online store, right, and they use a plugin or app or integration that allows them to do real-time duty and tax calculation at the time of checkout. It's a significant change from not being able to do that. And so what that allows the customer to do is, let's say you're an Indian recipient, shipping something into Toronto, 13% HST. So at this point, instead of getting a knock on the door from Canada Post or a courier, final mile courier stating, hey, you owe us, call it $5, $6, $10, whatever it is to get you can't have your package till you pay me. Right. That's not a good delivery experience. Yeah, it's a good call out. So adding in this integration, the ability to prepay the duties and taxes at the time of checkout, working with a partner like ourselves at Asendia, where you as the shipper, by working with us, you don't have to get GST registered, manage the remittance. We handle all that for you. Border clearance, collection, remittance, all those things. It's part of our service. And so, and really, it's part of our mission of really making it easier for shippers to navigate cross-border shipping. I feel like that was winded, but go ahead. No. Sorry, I think I got off track.
I think you did good.
Okay.
I got it. And that's saying something. Before we wrap up, there's one other topic I wanted to ask you about.
Yes.
So you just talked about the end consumer. So when you talk to your shippers, what do they concentrate on? Let's put it this way, is their focus matching up with what their consumers want? So like an example, shipping costs, as we talk about, WISMO call, carrier surcharge, and you talked about global DPOS and DDU, DDP, shopping cart abandonment, localized websites that tap into specific markets. Do you feel the shippers are focused on any of them, or did I miss any, or do any of them stand out?
They're focusing on all of those. And I believe if you are a listener to this podcast, you're familiar with all of those things. Right. WISMO being, where's my order, right? There's another thing I want to bring up too, though, John, is that, we talked in the first episode about, a little bit of brand recognition with Asendia. Right. There's a famous saying, which I absolutely cringe, is, nobody's going to get fired from using UPS or FedEx, right? Correct. People say, it's an awful saying, but it's also just sitting there and accepting the status quo. Right. So, our job, my job as an individual, is to get people familiar with, alternative options out there that could be significantly less expensive, going back to price, but also more importantly, being much more user-friendly and giving shippers the ability to have seamless DDP delivery options and, just a much better delivery experience with significant cost savings. And so I think if you're a distribution center manager, supply chain analyst, supply chain director, VP of whatever, anybody in that space that's managing parcel shipping, package, delivery carrier, vendors, things of that nature, any relationship in that way, we have to be more open to working with the alternative carriers as well. It's a very important mind shift that has to take place.
That is true. Customers have a lot of choices, more than they did probably 5 years ago, and they will in another 5 years having more choices. So I like your consultative approach, and obviously you're looking at it from a customer standpoint as well as the shipper. So I think that's fantastic. Yeah. Before we wrap it up, any other final thoughts?
I think I better stop here before we get too long into the conversation. But no, we covered things. But as always, we welcome all comments, questions, anybody interested in furthering the conversation. But just appreciate being here, and that's all I got for today.
Awesome. Nick and I appreciate all of you joining us today. Join us next month when we discuss this is one of Nick's favorite topics, the top 3 e-com markets for cross-border trade from the U.S. I'm assuming that's Canada, Australia, and the UK.
It is.
Okay, so that'll be a great topic to talk about next month. I'll do that.
If you want to support our podcast, the number one thing you can do is share it on your social media and tag Asendia.
That helps us get the word out, and we really appreciate it.
Be sure to subscribe and download our podcast. If you want to learn more about today's topic, email us at ecommerce.usa@asendia.com and check back frequently for new discussions on e-commerce shipping to Canada and worldwide.